So today, and now we're going to hear from Her Grace, Mother Rukmini. She's going to talk about the significance and examples of mothers in the Vedic scriptures. So, Mother Rukmini, again, welcome. We're so happy and grateful to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. I'm going to just sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Om Ajnanatimirandasya Dhyananjana Salakaya Chakrimilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhiyam Dadati Sapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Bhavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all so much for joining. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. So as I think about Mother's Day, I often think, we often think of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the father of the Krishna consciousness movement. Or we think of Srila Prabhupada as the father of the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. But I have to say that I often think of Lord Chaitanya as the mother of the Krishna consciousness movement, or Srila Prabhupada as the mother of the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. And how is that? Well, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Vishwambara. And Vishwa means the universe, and Amba means the nurse. So Lord Chaitanya was feeding the whole universe with the nectar of the holy names, of Krishna's holy names. So in one sense, he was nursing everyone in the universe. And what about Srila Prabhupada? I think of Srila Prabhupada he was crossing the Atlantic Ocean, this wild Atlantic Ocean on this small freighter ship, the Jaladuta. And when he wrote in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he writes that the ship was getting tossed in the wild Atlantic, just like a little matchbox on the wild waves of the Atlantic Ocean. So I often think of Srila Prabhupada praying to Krishna and meditating while he was on that ship, how he would present Krishna consciousness, how he would present Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to all of us. And, on the other side of the ocean, you know how a mother tortoise, she lays her eggs, but then she goes out to sea and she meditates on those eggs. And by her meditation, those eggs eventually hatch. So I think of Srila Prabhupada in that way, praying for us, praying how he could communicate bhakti to us and such unknown truths to all of us. During World War II, the Nazis did some very cruel experiments. And in one of them, they wanted to see whether human beings could live without love, without affection, without care. Believe it or not, they had such an experiment. And they were keeping newborn babies in a hospital setting. And they kept those babies clean and dry, but they gave them no human touch, no human affection, no personal interaction. And guess what? Those babies died. They couldn't survive without human interaction, without human touch, without human affection. So Mother's Day is a day for showing gratitude to those who gave us those most essential first necessities of life: love, touch, care, sustenance. Today we show gratitude to her, perhaps the most taken for granted persons in our lives, our moms, our first gurus, the ones who gave us birth. They gave us our first nourishment often from her own body. Often she was the one who taught us how to walk, gave us values, taught us right from wrong. But maybe it wasn't your birth mother. Maybe it was an adopted mother, or maybe it was even your father who gave your first mothering. But where is our gratitude for that one person who gave us life, who gave us birth, who gave us care, who didn't leave us in the hospital, and that person who didn't throw us in a dumpster, right? I have one god sister who, after she was born, her birth mother walked into the neighborhood bar and she asked if anyone in there wanted a baby. So she was adopted by her foster mother right there in the bar. And my point is that someone cared. Someone cared, so thank her, thank them. And today on Mother's Day, you can buy flowers, you can buy candy, but the best gift we can always give is thanksgiving. By giving thanks, we don't just give what we have to spare, we actually give ourselves to Krishna, to all his agents, like our moms, who helped him care for us from the beginning of our lives. Bhakti yoga is actually the yoga of gratitude. Bhakti is meant to be a transformation of the heart. And gratitude is the recognition of our inability to ever repay the love and care we've received in our lives. Yeah, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, it says that when someone actually attains good qualities, they become grateful for the mercy they've received from others, from Krishna, ultimately from Krishna, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in Srila Prabhupada's purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, this is first canto, 16th chapter, 26 to 30th verses, he explains that gratefulness is actually one of the components of knowledge. And in that place, he says very strongly, he says, only fools are ungrateful to their benefactors. And the Lord himself also feels grateful to his devotees, and he tries to reciprocate it, although the devotee has no such desire in his heart. Srila Prabhupada wrote a beautiful letter to Yamuna Devi, Mati, and Janaki. And in that letter, he told them that he lost his own mother when he was only 14 years old. And so he didn't have much of his mother's affection in his childhood. But he writes to them so gratefully, so beautifully. He says, but in my old age, Krishna has given me so many young mothers to take care of me. Isn't that a beautiful reciprocation of gratitude from Srila Prabhupada? Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would describe that in this world, the selfless love of someone's mother is the closest thing to God's love. That selfless love, that love without wanting any payback, is the closest to God's love. She does the work that no one else will do 24/7, right? No pay, no benefits, no vacation. And a mother gets very little credibility from society, or usually even from her family. Who would accept such a job? It's only based on selfless love and sacrifice, right? So I don't know if any of you have ever heard the story of someone named Sindhu Tai Saptal. She's called the mother of the orphans. She's been honored by the United Nations in 15 different countries. She was a simple, she's still living. She is a simple, illiterate village woman from Maharashtra. And what happened was a man in her village was abusing the women there. And she was a whistleblower. She went and told the police. And at that time, she had 2 children already, and she was already pregnant at that time. So out of revenge, this man, this abuser, came and lied to her husband and told him that the child she was carrying was his child. And her husband believed him and beat her until she was unconscious. Then he threw her in a cow shed to make it look like she'd been trampled to death by the cows there. But another mother, this is so amazing, another mother, a mother cow, stood over her and protected her so that the other cows wouldn't walk on her. And she gave birth to her little daughter underneath that mother cow. She cut the umbilical cord with a sharp rock that she found lying nearby on the ground. She had nowhere to go with her newborn baby. And it's a long story, but she was going to throw herself and her baby underneath the train to end their lives. And she was contemplating this while she was sitting under a tree near the railway station. And right above her, there was a tree. There was a broken branch from this tree. The broken branch was just hanging on a thread. And this branch was giving her shade. And she had a realization, an epiphany, really. She was looking at this branch and she said, this branch is broken. I am also broken. But although this branch is broken, it's giving me shade. And although I'm broken, I could also give care to someone. So I could also help others in some way, just like this branch is helping me. So she heard an old man crying for water nearby. So she went and brought this old man water. And then she walked over to the railway station and she began collecting the orphans that no one cared for. And eventually people started seeing her work, the work that she was doing, and they began to help her. They began to support her work. And gradually, she opened orphanages one after the other. And her daughter who was born under that mother cow, began to also assist her eventually in her work. And eventually that daughter got her PhD. And eventually her two older children came to assist her in her work. And at one point, her former husband, who was homeless and nearly starving, came to her and begged her to help him. And she told him that, she said, I have only one relationship now, that of a mother. And but she so kindly gave him a place to stay in one of her homes. And when people would come to take a tour of her orphanage and see her work, she would point him out and she would tell them, this is my oldest child, and he's a very bad child. But still she gave him help, she gave him shelter there. But sometimes we see that a mother's heart is too compassionate. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the cruel Ashvatthama came and killed the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, he was trying to destroy the last heirs to the Kuru dynasty so that there would be no future of that dynasty. He was so cruel, right? So Krishna wanted Arjuna to kill Ashvatthama. But Draupadi, with the heart of a mother, she was crying for her sons that she lost. And she said she didn't want the mother of Ashvatthama, who was the wife of their beloved teacher Dronacharya. She didn't want his mother to have to cry the way she was crying after losing her sons. So Arjuna looked at Krishna, he looked at her, and with wise discernment, he satisfied them both by, he cut the hair and cut the jewel from the head of Ashvatthama, and thus humiliating him. He killed him and at the same time didn't kill him both, right? So sometimes there has to be some discernment between our compassion and what needs to be done in society, right? So sometimes a mother's love is blind. And traditionally in India, when a child is born blind, the mother, out of motherly affection, will call him Padmalochan, or lotus eyed, right? So, but sometimes love without discretion can be harmful. There's a story of a man, he was a criminal and he was on death row. He'd been raised by his aunt, and he asked to see her before he had to be put to death. He asked her to come close. He had one final thing to whisper to her through the prison bars. What was he going to say? Was he going to express his gratitude to her? Tell her how much he loved her? So she put her ear next to the bar of the cell, really close, so he could whisper to her. And he came close and he bit her ear off. Why did he do that? He told her, if you had chastised me, if you had corrected me when I was younger, when I was first committing these crimes, I wouldn't be here today, about to die today. So we have to balance that soft-hearted compassion with discernment, with living values, teaching values. We've heard about some soft-hearted mothers today. And you know, men in society often think of women as so emotional. But I'd like to say that highly advanced, both men and women of all spiritual traditions have developed and unlocked deep spiritual emotions. You think of St. Francis or Jesus Christ, or, you know, really saints of all tradition. I know it's said in the Islamic tradition that Muhammad wouldn't even kill an insect. So in Krishna consciousness, we're meant to awaken our spiritual emotions, our discerning spiritual, emotional intelligence. I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada the other day, and he was saying that the purpose of Krishna consciousness is to transform our material emotions into spiritual emotions. So it's not about wiping out our emotions or denying our emotional intelligence. To awaken the emotions of our hearts to this, what's called priti lakshanam, the loving interactions, the loving reciprocation between Krishna and his loving devotees. This is Krishna consciousness. So whether we're men or women, we're not meant to be doing Krishna consciousness mechanically or only intellectually or only existing in our headspace. That's not what it's all about. In Bhagavad Gita, those four most essential, they're called the nutshell verses, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 8 through 11. So in one verse, Krishna says that, Aham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pravartate iti madva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. That he says that I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. And those who are wise, you know, the word Buddha means wise, it means wisdom. He says, those who are wise worship me with all their hearts. So this verse really speaks to this transformation of our emotions from material to spiritual emotions. Those who are wise, Buddha bhava samanvita. You know, the word bhava means emotions, material or spiritual, right? So as Gaudiya Vaishnavas following in the line of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're meant to develop deep spiritual emotions as lovers of Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shishi Radha Krishna. And, you know, Srimati Radharani is called Thakurani. It means that, it means the grandmother actually, but what it means is that she is the source of all other goddesses of fortune. She's the source of Lakshmi, of Saraswati, Parvati, Durga Devi. She's the source of all goddesses. And we honor her as our the ultimate mother, right? Krishna is the seed-giving father. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, Aham bija pradapita. And our acharyas all worship Shri Radha as the most beloved of Krishna. In one place, Srila Prabhupada said something so charming. He said, Krishna by himself is not particularly beautiful. Can you imagine he said that? And then he said, but when he is standing next to Srimati Radharani, he is so beautiful. So in fact, our acharyas are worshiping Krishna as Radha's Krishna, right? There's a beautiful prayer to Srimati Radharani in great humility by our acharya, the Rasacharya, Srila Rupa Goswami. And he says, I, a distressed soul belonging to you, beg you with sweet words while rolling on the banks of the Yamuna. Although I am unfit, an offender with a crooked mind, please bestow on me a fragment of the gift of service to you. He says, this unhappy soul is not fit to be neglected by you, for you have a butter-soft heart that melts constantly by the warmth of your compassion. So this is from Rupa Goswami's beautiful Stavamala. And, you know, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, at the end of each chapter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says, Rupa Raghunatha Pade. So he's meditating in gratitude at the end of each chapter on the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. So what does Srila Raghunath Das Goswami say? He says, and again in utter humility, he says, "O goddess, kindly hear this unfortunate person who is now drowning in an ocean of pain. Place him in the sturdy boat of your mercy and ferry him to the wonderful shore, of the realm of your lotus feet. This is from the Vilap Kusamandali of Raghunath Das Goswami. So these are a few thoughts on gratitude, on gratitude to the ones who we can never repay, right? As I said earlier, gratitude is the recognition that we can never repay those who gave us these gifts, our mothers, and ultimately Krishna. We can never repay those who gave us birth, those who gave us shelter by their kindness, and ultimately gratitude to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some thoughts on developing our spiritual, emotional intelligence, and these beautiful prayers to the original of all mothers, Shrimati Radha Thakurani. So thank you all so very much. And maybe you have some what was important for you, or what was a takeaway for you, or maybe there's some questions.
Thank you so much, Mother Rukmini Devi. That was very special, very heartwarming. We're going to open it up now for some questions and reflections, as you asked. And people can either raise their hand virtually or type it in the chat, and we'll read it out. So let's start off. We have Mother Vatsala and then Mother Mitravinda.
Thank you so much. My humble pranam to you. I always loved your lecture and the way you were speaking to us. Very nice, very humble servant of Srila Prabhupada. And, my humble pranams to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada. I like the way you say spiritual emotion, because as a mother and a grandmother, we always give in to too many things. We are very, very merciful to all the children and all, even though they may be at times, they don't show that much of gratitude. We always love them, no matter what. And you also mentioned that spiritual emotion. I like that. Transformation of material to spiritual emotion. I like that thing. And also we think Radharani as Thakurani. I like that too. We always address Krishna, Sri Krishna, Lord Krishna, and Thakurji. So I never heard Srimati Radharani being addressed Thakur Rani. So I like that. We always like your lectures. Personally, I do like that. And thank you for coming out. And also you quoted some of the things from Raghunath Goswami. And I really like that. I was jotting down a little bit. And thank you very much for quoting those things. Thank you. We like you to come back again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so you have such beautiful deities of Radha Sharat Bihari. Of course, Lord Jagannath is the big boss, along with Baladev and Subhadra Devi. But you have Gornitai and Radha Sharat Bihari. So the Sharat season is the time for Krishna's rasa dance, and he is the Lord, and this is when he reciprocates. He tells the gopis that he can never repay the love that they feel for him. So in the Sharat season, in the autumn season, he dances with them in the rasa dance, which he makes to extend to be a whole night of Brahma. So such beautiful reciprocation. Thank you so much for your kind
Thank you.
thoughts.
Please come back again. We like to listen more lectures. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Mother Mitravinda.
Mitravinda Devi Dasi, significant. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Mother Rukmini Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna.
Your very sweet, knowledgeable, and insightful discourse on Mother's Day from all perspectives, full circle, devotionally, from the material perspective, from the perspective of intelligence and emotion. It's very, very helpful at this time where many mothers are suffering. You spoke eloquently and very thought-provoking about in the material world, there's, a mother doesn't receive a paycheck for her love. She doesn't receive a pension. She doesn't receive benefits of the material sort. But because Krishna is a seed-bearing father, it's a service of love, truly. And my reflection is on your words that it's really the service of love that is bigger than anyone's qualification of that service or understanding of it on some levels that carries us through. And Krishna fills our cup when we're so tired from breastfeeding or, running after them, or just, spending our day and our time for years and years loving and serving them. And because they belong to Krishna, not us, it really doesn't matter what others think. And that love is given freely. And I just wanted to take a moment to respect and appreciate you as a mother and a mother of children, a child that was raised Vaishnava, as my two children have been all of their lives. And thank you so much for being here with us today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for your beautiful realizations on mothering. And it really, when I was listening to you speak so beautifully, I was thinking how, really when a child has the love of a loving mother or loving father or both, a child feels fearless. Once Srila Prabhupada said something about how when a child holds his father's hand or his mother's hand, Prabhupada was sort of imitating in the voice of a little child. He said, "No one can touch my body because my father is here or my mother is here." So the child just can be swinging. I know we have a wonderful temple president here in Washington, Ananda Vrindavan, and her son Gopinath talked about when he was being raised in Vrindavan, and he was little, and his parents would be taking him to Mangal Artik, and he would be holding his father's hand, holding his mother's hand, and he would be just swinging back and forth as though they were the two sides of a swing. So it's a very, very beautiful childhood memory. So that kind of fearlessness is evoked when a child has that loving care, that selfless protection of a mother or a father, or, it could be one, it could be both. It could be, really in one sense, we hear it takes a village. So to give that loving affection to all the children in the community is so profound, that the children can feel so protected and so fearless being sheltered by community. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Gauravani Prabhu. It's great that you're here to join us. We got mother and son.
Thank you, Gora.
Very well.
Haribo.
I just wanted to, my mom's going to chastise me later for doing this, but I put in the chat my mother's Patreon page, and I'm trying to encourage my mother that at the end of every lecture, before she takes questions, that she should announce that there's a way for people to connect with her more intimately and to support her in her seva, because this is her work and her ecstasy to share her teachings. And please, if you can, please visit her Patreon page. It's there, patreon.com/Rukmini Walker. And if you're able, please give some support to my mother in her service. Sorry to be so practical, but somebody's gotta do it. So
sometimes we raise our kids and they just grow up to surpass us. So thank you, Gauravani.
It's a wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gaura.
I see that somebody Ashley put in the chat that she's a Patreon member.
Thank you,
I guess there's some benefits to that, to the sharing, or I guess the connection. Maybe Mother speak to that a little bit more.
Well, I don't want to get all.
No,
yeah,
Martha, please share a little bit about what you're doing there.
Well, they're classes that are available, and things that are available just to Patreon members. So yeah, you can go to Rukmini Walker at Facebook or check out the Patreon. But yeah, it helps, and it supports the work of throwing out the seeds of bhakti, which is trying to be. When you were in school, did you hear about Johnny Appleseed? He's sort of like he's my bhakti seed guru. He used to just throw out these apple seeds everywhere as he was walking all across the US. And apple trees grew up everywhere. So thinking of that, I'm trying to throw out these seeds of bhakti and share them with all of you and whoever is interested. So thank you all so much.
And we encourage all the devotees out there, especially those in this kind of Philadelphia, to please, reach out and support Mother Rukmini in her effort to spread Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. You guys are embarrassing me. Are there more questions?
Yes. So we have
I gotta say Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, that's my favorite son. My favorite son.
I told them earlier, I had a nice mother, and my mother's been gone from this world a very long time, since the early 80s. But
There you are. Now I see your
Prabhupada gave
face.
me so many mothers. I have so many mothers. And in that top bracket, there is you, So I thank you so very, very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're the emblem of a mother. You're nurturing, you're kind, you're smart, and you love God, and you encourage us to serve God. So
thank you.
I'm just thanking you. It's just another one of those days when we get to glorify those who are nurturers. Happy Mother's Day, Mother.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you so much.
You are definitely in the top echelon of my favorite sons also. And I remember you telling me about your family and how your family, so many of your sibs, they went and followed different religious traditions, and it was all okay in your house. They were all honored, and all these, one's a Hare Krishna and one's a Muslim and one's a Christian and one's a this and that, the other thing, but everyone was welcome at the table. So I think that's real Thanksgiving. And that's what I was trying to talk about tonight, that, it's not about giving candy or giving flowers. It's about giving Thanksgiving. That's the gift of the heart. So thank you so much for your example
Thank you, Mother.
Loving brotherhood and friendship in the Philadelphia community for a lifetime. So grateful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mother Rukmini. It's always so, when you come, you just fill our lives with so much hope and excitement. I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing that there are hands up, and I just started speaking. I'm packing stuff here, and I thought you were going to leave now. So I apologize to everyone. I'll just make it very quick. My Guru Maharaj, Varsana Swami, he always calls Mother Rukmini his mother. And he says the way she took care of him when he came to Krishna consciousness is amazing. And that just touches my heart. And how Mother Rukmini has taken care of me when I was going through so many hardships. And I just am so thankful and grateful to you. And what a day to be able to say thank you. So thank you very much. And please keep us in your prayers and your blessings.
Thank you so much. Well, they say that love is round, and it keeps circling round. So it keeps, when you send it out, it just boomerangs back to you. So thank you so much for all your generous love and sweetness.
Thank you.
Haribol. There's some other questions here.
Yeah, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, and then Mother Sadhana after that.
Hare Krishna, Mother Rukmini, please accept my humble obeisances.
Haribol.
We were expecting you also in Delaware. I'm from Delaware. So things changed. It's so nice to be with you, hear from you on this Mother's Day. And you're sharing so many things. But in spite of all this, I want to hear to be Krishna conscious, to be such a dedicated, determined, and showing with an example to the congregation, especially mothers, We've come all this way. How time is changing. Time changes, our activities changes. What would you advise to the devotees, how to be steady in devotional service, irrespective of likings and dislikings? Some of your, because you have been successful coming and such a senior Vaishnava. So how you can help give message to the devotees that we also follow those footsteps.
Thank you.
Follow the footsteps. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great question. I think it's in one sense it's a balance, because it's always important to do things that inspire us, but then also it's important to be able to just do the needful, do what needs to be done. So in one sense, we should be essence seekers. We should try to go to the essence and try to find those things that give us those, what's called a spurti, give us an inspiration of Krishna consciousness. Like have one of your favorite pictures of Krishna in a place where you can see it, or try to do some of those most favorite services. But then there's just those things that need to be done, sometimes things that nobody wants to do. And Krishna will be so pleased when we take responsibility, take on some of the headaches. Like, really Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, like you're doing, you have the temple in Delaware. There wasn't a temple in Delaware for a long time, but you saw a need and you thought, well, there's so many people who it's awfully far for them to drive all the way to Philadelphia. So you saw a need and you started that community there, and you're trying to help devotees feel inspired and engaged and seeing the need, doing the needful. Sometimes we're walking around the temple property, we just walk right past the pieces of trash on the ground, thinking, oh, that's someone else's job, or maybe speaking to a guest. Maybe, we see someone who's there for the first time and we just walk right past them thinking, oh, I'm busy, I have to go do this or I have to go do that. And we just walk right past them. But to me, it's the most sad and unfortunate thing when we hear from someone, oh yeah, I came to the temple once 6 years ago, but no one spoke to me. So I didn't come back for 6 years. This is the second time I've been here. So thank you for speaking to me, because you never know, just a smile or just a word, even if you don't know what to say, just thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Can I get you some prasadam? Maybe they don't even know what prasadam is, but to doing the needful. And those humble services are so dear to Krishna's heart. Gauravani sings a beautiful tune that he learned from a man who in Varshana, who used to sweep the steps of Radharani's temple. He was a very simple man, and his service was just sweeping those steps. And he sang a tune that was a lilting tune that would sound like going up the steps and going down the steps. And that was his service every day. And he actually prayed to Radharani that he could leave this world while doing that service. And he actually did. He left this world while doing that humble service. And you can imagine how dear he is to Lord Krishna. So any one of us who takes on some little headache, maybe we can't take on all the big headaches that someone else can take on, but we can do our little part and try to do it with a sincere heart, right? Krishna isn't really accepting the leaf or the flower or the water or the sweeping or the arti or the management or anything. He's just accepting the love and devotion. So whatever we do to try to do that as an offering to Krishna from the heart. I'm doing this for you to please you. And when we chant to do that, I'm chanting your holy name to please you, and try to do everything in that consciousness, and Krishna will reciprocate in different ways, in magical ways. So thank you. That's a great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Hope we see you soon.
And Mother Sadhana?
Okay, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Mother Rukmini. Hare Bol.
Hari Bol.
Please accept my obeisances.
So good to hear your voice. I don't see you. I'm going to look for your face.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. Face or no face, I hear your sweet voice.
Oh, I'm there. I'm on the screen. Hare Bol. So thank you so much for a very Yet another inspiring and sweet talk. You know, I think you're a mother to so many young women, and I see you doing so much great things. So thank you for all of that. I think, and for me, you provide me with that. I think you called it spriti.
Spruti, yeah.
Spriti, and you know, I'm so very grateful for that. It's always inspiring. Yet again, today as well. Some of the philosophy came together very nicely for me today, which were some questions I had. So it was very beautiful in that way. Another question came by because you know talked about a lot of balance, and we do have a lot of our Puranas always talk about, you know, the compassion of Draupadi, you know, so many other things that women sort of portray. In the world today, a lot of people talk about nature versus nurture, and you know, and that was sort of, I wanted to see if you could speak to that and tie the philosophy, because you know we have this idea that a soul takes a body, and it comes with a lot of the past karmas, and so forth, and just sort of help expand that a little bit for me.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very interesting thought that we do come with sort of those raw materials that will make up the foundation of our world. We each have different abilities. You know, spiritually, we're all equal, right? Every living being is equal, but in a sense, materially, there really isn't equality. Someone is always more wealthy or more beautiful or more this or more that, more intellectual, or, you know, we all have different gifts. But I think, you know, there's no one who comes into this world without some gift. And all of those gifts have to be honored, whatever they are. And by association, we can develop those gifts. So to me, this is part of discernment, to really be able to look into ourselves and see what are the gifts that Krishna has given me and how can I use them in his service. And I know in one sense, nature and nurture, you're saying. So in one sense, maybe we can feel like, oh, you know, I never had proper education, or I never had enough opportunity to develop my gifts. But, you know, whatever situation we're in now, we can take an opportunity. I mean, when you think of COVID, there's been so much suffering and so many people have left this world. There are people who have taken advantage of this COVID situation to develop in different ways, things that they didn't have a chance to develop before. So within every challenge, there's an opportunity, and those opportunities are come before us each day. And each of us has, you know, we have our free will, how we're going to use our time, how we're going to waste our time. Time is Krishna. So, you know, when you think about it, so many moms spend their youth raising their children, raising their families, and so many of them have gone back and gotten a degree after their kids are grown up. I know my son Gauravani, his wife Vrindarani, her mother Rama, you know, she was so dedicated. She was part of a women's book distribution party in India in her early days of Krishna consciousness. And then she lovingly raised 2 kids, Vrindarani and her brother. And then afterwards she went back, got her degree as a teacher, and she was a very loving and award-winning teacher in a grammar school for many years. And she taught children who were, other teachers were not even able to teach. So who knew that she had those gifts? So somewhere hiding within us are our gifts, and each gift is sacred. And I think each one of us needs to be honored for those different gifts. And it's so important that we don't put people in a mold based on their bodily designation. Oh, you're a woman, you can't do this, or you're a this, or you're that, you can't do that. But you know, sometimes we get those inspirations from Krishna. You could do this, you could do this. And you know, when I think of my god sisters, I think of my dear friend Sarva Mangala. She's an actress and a dramatist, and she went back and she studied using the creative arts in healing, and she uses that in her work now. So there's so many wonderful things that we could be doing for the pleasure of Krishna, using our gifts and our talents, whatever abilities we have, right? Krishna says, I am the ability in man or a woman, right? So whatever abilities we have, they're God-given, and what we do with those native, that nature, what we do with that nature, how we nurture our nature, that's our gift back to Krishna. So we should never feel that that we shouldn't fan the spark of that inspiration that comes in our heart.
Yeah.
I hope
Lovely.
that's helpful.
Yes, very lovely. Yes, thank you. And I was thinking about nature and nurture in respect to raising children. And when you have three, you can do the same things, but they can always have their variety, their nature, as you said. And you have to find that and look for that, really, because it's also there's that variety that Krishna brings us, right? So
yeah, that's so true.
Much,
yeah, I think this is one of the and I didn't really speak about this, so thank you for bringing that out. But I think this is so often one of the gifts of a mother, that they're able to see, to love those different individuals that get different gifts that their kids have, and to not try to put them in a mold that each one should come out just like cookie cutter to be the same, but to be able to fan the spark of the individuality of their different children. I mean, I just had one, my son Gauravani, he has three, and each one of them is such a unique individual. So that's a beautiful gift of our mother, or any leader. And in one sense, we're all leaders, right? Even if we're just leading our own kids and our own family, we're all leaders in one sense. So to be able to recognize those gifts and to be able to say, hey, like Sadhana, you're an engineer. I think you're a software engineer and working in IT out in Silicon Valley. So, someone somewhere, maybe it came from Krishna's inspiration in your heart. Maybe it was one of your parents, maybe it was your mom, but someone said, hey, these are your gifts, Sadhana, you can use them. And now use them for Krishna, use them for his pleasure. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Haribol.
Haribol.
We have Mother Janaki.
Hare Krishna, Mother Rukmini. Thank you so much for a lovely inspirational class, and I wish you a very happy Mother's Day. I'm so glad that I could hear words of wisdom through you.
Thank you.
My question is, if you are speaking in confidence with your own mother, and if your mother advises you or tells you something, your heart says something else, but your mother is advising you something else. So how can you strike a balance? Because you are at a point where you are making an important decision of your life, and you kind of have your heart somewhere, but your mother is giving you an advice to do something else because she may have thought of things that could be, from her experience. So in that situation, how do one perceive or take that advice as, is it something that it is coming directly from the God, or how should one perceive her advice? Where the other individual, her own daughter or son, they don't kind of agree because their heart is telling something else.
Well, yeah, that's discernment, right? And that's a fine line, how to honor the advice of someone who loves you, but then also honor that voice within yourself, right? Because that, and it's so true. Parents are often speaking, from their own experience, out of the fears that they faced in their lives growing up. Oh, you have to do this because it will make money, and don't pursue that because it may not give you financial security. Sometimes there's an opportunity to do both, Sometimes someone can be working at a job in finance, which maybe their heart isn't really in that job, but at the same time they can be painting or doing sculpture or writing poetry. Sometimes there's a way to do both. And sometimes there's a way to just be able to honor those senior voices, but at the same time, explain to them that that this is what's in my heart, and I have to honor that voice also. But I think it's, Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about, he gives a beautiful example that as we look off into toward the horizon of the future of our lives, we should see the spiritual and material sides of our lives coming together at the horizon, like two tracks on a railroad. So yeah, I think it is important to honor that spurti, that inspiration from within your heart. But sometimes there's a way to do both and do that gradually. Like, you know, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be slash and burn. You know, my mama wants me to be a doctor or do finance or this or that, but really I want to be a dancer on Broadway. You know, sometimes you can multi-track also, and you can, you know, Krishna's father Vasudeva gives the beautiful example of when he's speaking to Kamsa, trying to get Kamsa to not kill his wife Devaki, right? So he's telling Kamsa that, you know, in our lives, we can take a step like a caterpillar, put one foot forward while leaving the back legs on the old leaf. We can put our front legs on the new leaf. So maybe that's a good example also of how to proceed in our lives. You know, maybe to please our families and honor those voices of the mother, the father, the wise ones who want us to have stability. Maybe there's a way to honor those voices and at the same time explore those things that we feel really inspire us. So I think it's important to honor the voice within and also to be discerning, but also kind, delicate, respectful. And sometimes there has to be a parting of the way, you know. Sometimes if that inspiration is so great, sometimes you need to say, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be this or that. I have this inspiration and I believe Krishna will help me. So, but pray to Krishna and ask, you can always ask advice from other mentors and seniors and get blessings, you know. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he started to write, he was asked to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita by the Vaishnavas, but he went and got blessings. He asked for blessings everywhere. He went to the deity of Madan Mohan, the deity threw his garland down and gave him a sign. So I think it's a good idea to ask wise elders and get advice, people who know you, people who have your pulse, like, you know, like a family doctor who knows you. So you have aunties and uncles and friends and other devotees. So wise mentors. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, my question was based on my own, it's not about how to, you know, it's not about the choice of what you want to become. It's basically concerning your life, you know, what do you want to do versus where you are at in present times. So is there a way if I could talk to you offline about this?
Yeah, sometimes we can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I am praying to God and I'm chanting with heart and I'm not able to make a decision. So I am really in pain right now. And I asked my family, they are telling something, but I don't want that. And I'm afraid if I make that choice according to them, I will lose my bhakti because.
Well, why don't we can talk privately. Are there other devotees near you? Do you have other community around? Where do you live?
No, I don't have anybody around. And also I am nearby Boston area. There's nobody around as in the association wise. I don't have anybody around.
Okay, well, we can talk. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. We have a lot of nice appreciations for your class and your service, Mother, in the chat. Just want you to, maybe you can take a look at that before you log off.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one last question. I just want to make, are you okay?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay, good. Okay, so you were telling us the story of the woman.
Sindhutai?
Yeah, how do you say that? How do you spell it?
Sindhutai Saptal.
Sindhutai
Saptal.
Really inspiring story. Incredible.
Yeah.
one thing that you said was, and she looked at a branch and she saw that it was broken. And then she also realized, I'm also broken. And even though the branch is broken, it's still the tree is still able to give shade. I remember one time I was in the kitchen in Gita Nagari, and I was cleaning green beans, and we were kind of snapping them and getting them ready to be cooked for Krishna. And I was discarding a bunch of the ones that were wilted, and a lot of them were wilted. And Mother Kalini had come to me, and she said, "Why are you throwing these away?" And I said, "Well, they're wilted." And she said to me, "Imagine if Krishna rejected us for all our imperfections." And then she showed me, this can be saved, this can be saved. You don't have to throw away the whole thing. Some of it can be of use. So I went, and that made a lasting impression on me. And the question is, how do we deal with our imperfections that we have? That things that that may just be part of our karma that we have. Some things we may never be good at, but knowing that we can still serve. Krishna still loves us, and we can still be of some value despite our imperfections. Whether it could be a number of things.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. The example you're citing, this poor illiterate village woman. I mean, who could be more unfortunate than a woman in her situation, right? But still, she was able to recognize that she could also give shelter to the most neglected people in society. So, when you were speaking, I was thinking Theodore Roosevelt, this one American president, he said once that comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. So I think we all tend to do that. Oh, she's such a better cook than I am. She dresses the deities so much better than I do. And he's so intellectual and gives such great classes. And he can remember so many verses, and he's so empowered and this or that. And we're always kind of, in our own minds. But Krishna doesn't see that. Krishna just is just seeing what we can offer from our hearts. So whatever gifts we have, and there's no one in this world who doesn't have some gift. I'm dependent on someone who can come and fix my sink when it gets clogged up. I don't know how to do that. We're dependent on so many others, and I think we can live in that gratitude. That idea of, because we do tend to be comparing ourselves to others, and also we become proud, right? There's a saying, even the pauper is proud of his penny. And there's this one quote I love about gratitude. It's from the archbishop, one of the previous archbishops of Canterbury. And he said that, I love this, he said, thankfulness is a soil in which pride does not easily grow. So even if we have practically no abilities, if we're just like a pauper, we become proud of our little penny, right? So if we want to, if we can dwell in this gratitude, dwell in thankfulness, then that pride will not be overcoming us. And if we want to grow in bhakti, we can be rooted in this foundational gratitude. And in that gratitude, Krishna can reveal so much to us. What our gifts are, how we can serve better. But if we're proud, then it's like a huge block, and we don't get the intelligence we need to understand how to take each next step. And Krishna is sitting in our hearts. He's the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And he's just waiting for us to turn to him. So if we want to know, how can I serve better? Then we can ask Krishna, please show me the way. Show me how to come to you, right? Those cherished verses in the 10th chapter, he says, I give the understanding by which they can come to me, and to show them to those who are constantly devoted. So how can I be constantly devoted? And he says to show them special mercy. With the shining lamp of knowledge, I destroy the ignorance in their hearts with that shining lamp of knowledge. So if we want that, we can cry to Krishna for that. Please give me that light so that I can see my way, so that I can take the next step. Because I'm so blind. I have no knowledge. I have no devotion. I mean, the great Srila Prabhupada, this is his prayer, standing on board the ship Jaladuta. You know, here he is. He's come all this way. He was a saint living in Vrindavan, but he risked his life, penniless, homeless. He's standing on the board of the ship and he says, I have no knowledge. I have no devotion. Please, you know, make me dance as you like. So we can also offer that prayer to Krishna and ask for intelligence, how to do our service or how to find a service, you know, each one of us. Thank you.
So beautiful. You left with so many gems today.
Thank you.
And we're so grateful for your association.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
We want to just mention once again that if you'd like to connect with Mother Rukmini and support her in her seva, you can check out her Patreon page. I'm going to post it one more time in the chat, so it's at the bottom. And we look forward to you so much, Mother Rukmini.
Thank you.
When things open up a little bit, I think we're almost there. Actually have you come visit Philadelphia.
Thank you.
We get to see you in person.
Thank you all so much, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, and happy Mother's Day to all the fathers and all the kids. And gratitude is the path, right? Thankfulness is the path. Thank you so much.